12 روزه دشمن دست از این خواسته شوم و جنایتکارش بر نمیداره. به دنبال این هست که ایران قوی نباشد، ایران مستقل نباشد. او آمد جنگ چهارم، اون خواسته ای رو که در
Iranian authorities sought to project strength on Monday by mobilizing tens of thousands of pro-government supporters onto the streets, even as nationwide protests against Islamic Republic ebbed. State television broadcast extensive footage of crowds converging on Tehran's Engelab Square, waving flags and chanting slogans in support of the leadership. Similar images were aired from other cities, part of a coordinated effort by the government to signal that it had regained control after more than 2 weeks of unrest. The rallies followed claims by Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi that the protest movement had been contained. Speaking to foreign diplomats in Tehran, Araghchi asserted that the situation was under total control, though he offered no evidence to support the statement. Iran's parliamentary speaker also joined the rally and claimed that since the end of the 12-day conflict, Iran's adversaries have not abandoned their agenda of weakening the country. He accused them of seeking an Iran that is neither strong nor independent, arguing that after failing to achieve their goals through direct confrontation, they shifted to what he described as a terrorist war aimed at destabilizing the nation from within.
For Iran not to be strong, not to be independent. He initiated the fourth war, launching the objective he sought in the second phase of that 12-day conflict as a terrorist war. And then he observed the nation standing firm against this terrorist war. He officially endorsed their stance and sought to continue his own military operations, which were in their second phase. However, this time he was unable to transition from a civil conflict into a full-fledged military war and make any significant headway.
The protests, which began over the sharp collapse of the Iranian rial and worsening economic conditions, have since expanded into nationwide demonstrations openly questioning the country's theocratic system. According to the US-based human rights activists news agency, Harna, more than 500 protests have erupted across all 31 provinces. The group reported that at least 544 people have been killed and more than 10,600 arrested. Harna says it relies on a network of activists inside Iran to verify information and has been accurate during previous waves of unrest. The Associated Press has said it has been unable to independently verify these figures, while Iran's government has not released any comprehensive casualty data. Efforts to assess the scale and intensity of the protests have been complicated by a sweeping communications blackout. Internet access and international phone lines have been largely cut, severely limiting the flow of information out of the country. Despite this, scattered videos and messages that surfaced overnight suggested that demonstrations were still taking place, even as security forces intensified their crackdown. Analysts say there are no visible cracks within Iran's power structure. Roxanne Farmanfarmanayan, a professor of modern Middle East politics at the University of Cambridge, told Al Jazeera that the military has publicly reaffirmed its loyalty to the government. She noted that the army has pledged to protect key strategic infrastructure, underscoring its role as a critical pillar of regime stability.
The protest gives Trump the ability to pressure Iran for that kind of change in behavior at its weakest point. Externally, because as a consequences of the 12 days war, decimation of IRGC leadership and command structure, the destruction of so-called axis of resistance since 7th of October by Israel, catastrophic economic situation. I mean, you can't find a point in last 47 years that Islamic Republic has been weaker than now. That the government of Iran is killing Iranian protesters in hundreds, if not thousands. that Iranians on the ground do need and want international support, and that that support will not only help them, but in the longer run helps everyone in the region and even in the West. In terms of U.S. Role, U.S. is acting on its own interest. The protesters obviously mentioned, but I don't think they are intervening necessarily out of desire to protect human rights as such. But nevertheless, whatever their intention might be, any weakening of repressive force of the Iranian regime is definitely welcomed by actual protesters on the ground and most Iranians.
Iranian officials have repeatedly accused Washington and Tel Aviv of stoking unrest, claiming foreign powers turned peaceful protests into violent confrontations to justify external intervention. These allegations persist despite the broad participation of ordinary Iranians in demonstrations. Tehran has previously crushed mass protests through force, most notably in 2009 and 2019, and observers say the coming days will be critical in determining whether the current movement can withstand an increasingly lethal response. International reaction has been swift. Germany and many other nations, including Israel, on Monday condemned Iran's handling of the protests and urged authorities to halt the repression.
We have been witnessing for 2 weeks now, across the nation, an increasing number of people from all parts of society taking to the streets.
They are peacefully demonstrating for their freedom and for a better life within their own country. And that is not merely their legitimate right. For the immense courage with which these individuals stand up against the disproportionate and brutal violence of Iranian security forces, they are owed our utmost recognition and profound respect.
And I urge the Iranian leadership to protect its people, not threaten them. We strongly condemn the violence the leadership in Tehran inflicts on its own people. This violence is not an expression of strength, but rather an expression of weakness. This violence must end.
Our hearts go out to the Iranian people, bravely marching for their freedom as we speak, and being ruthlessly repressed by a regime that is the root of so much evil in the world. Our hope and prayer is that all women and men can enjoy the same precious liberty we are all blessed with, and live in peace and harmony, free from tyranny and oppression.
Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump said Iran had reached out to explore negotiations, even as he acknowledged that Washington was considering a range of military and non-military options. Speaking aboard Air Force One, Trump said he had been briefed on potential responses, including cyber operations or direct strikes, though he stressed that no final decision had been made.
They crossed your red line yet to trigger a response?
Well, no, they're starting to, it looks like, and there seem to be some people killed that aren't supposed to be killed. These are violent, if you call them leaders, I don't know if they're leaders or just they rule through violence. But we're looking at it very seriously. The military is looking at it, and we're looking at some very strong options. We'll make a determination. Well, if they do that, we'll consider things targets that they wouldn't believe. If they do that, we will hit them at levels that they've never been hit before. They won't even believe it. I have options that are so strong. So, I mean, if they did that, it'll be met with a very, very powerful force.
Trump added that his administration believed Iranians were weary of violence and pressure, framing talks as a possible off-ramp. U.S. officials have said the United States stands with protesters and remains prepared to act if the situation escalates further, even as diplomatic channels are quietly explored.
Was that something willingness from Iran to engage diplomatically with you, or perhaps negotiate on nuclear program?
With Iran?
Yeah, do you think they want to engage diplomatically with you?
They do. They called
you?
yesterday.
Is it still an option?
Iran called to negotiate.
Yesterday.
The leaders of Iran called, they want to negotiate. I think they're tired of being beat up by the United States.
Can you share any details on that?
Iran wants to negotiate, yes.
Negotiate what?
We may meet with them. I mean, a meeting is being set up. but we may have to act because of what's happening before the meeting. But a meeting is being set up. Iran called. They want to negotiate. Thank you very much, everybody.